Welcome back. We're joined by Evan Lucas from InvestSMART. Evan, plenty happening in the markets today. Can you tell us what is making the biggest movements?
Look, I think you've got to look at it from a different point of view as well with regards to what's moving. Everybody's going to talk about and continue to move around the coronavirus, and it's there. If you look at what happened in the Aussie dollar on Friday, it hit the lowest it's been since 2009. And the way I read that is that there is a longer-term effect from corona coming probably from China that we probably will see starting in around about June, July, when all of that figures come through. But looking at today, we actually look a little bit positive, and it is technically the start in earnest of our earnings season today. And why that's interesting, I don't normally talk about it, but why it's interesting is that there's a few microcosm sort of examples around there. And one of the things that you and I have been speaking about, Annalise, for a while is things like consumer discretionary spending. And why I highlight that, JB Hi-Fi is out today and it actually produced a record half-year number, up around about 4% on revenue and up around about 8.5% on earnings. And it's a really, really strong set of numbers, and they're quite impressed with it. They're quite happy with it, which is not what you would expect considering the kinds of numbers on the economic side that we've been seeing from consumer discretionary. They are highlighting that probably the RBA's 3 cuts last year certainly helped them through October all the way through to December. And the one to really highlight is their online sales. They saw a massive jump, around about 18%. It's just a little bit shy of that on online sales, particularly in November around the Black Friday and Cyber Monday numbers. It also therefore highlights changing ways that Australians are consuming and changing times of when consumption is happening. The traditional Christmas period is no longer sort of the 2 weeks leading up to December 24. It is also now going back as far, probably as the second week of November. So that was the interesting thing around today's numbers to really highlight.
I guess JB's been a survivor before, so maybe it's looking at these trends ahead of time, Evan, and able to do a little bit better than Dick Smith, for example. CBA is due on Wednesday, so this will be a big one for loan growth and give us a bit of a temperature check, I guess, on the housing market.
It is. Look, CBA, the reason you always highlight CBA is it's the old adage, and it's still true, nearly 1 in 2 people in this country bank with CBA. So it is always the big one to really look at. It is the one that shows a very, very good, as you said, microcosm of around loan growth, around traditional banking and where it's going. I know, Annalise, you'll love to talk about the Banking Royal Commission fallouts there, but what you need to look at is whether or not CBA has actually seen any form of movement, as you said, from the housing tom, but not just that, also whether or not there's been an increase in bad and doubtful debts. And why we highlight that is there had been signs of slight stress all the way through to about June last year. And again, some of the questions that have been raised around the cuts that the RBA put through at the end of last year was to actually make sure that didn't get any higher and that the housing market, not only was it getting stronger in terms of value, but there was signs that you could starting to see an uptick in a bit of pressure and taking that pressure away. So if that was to fall away, loan growth might not be as strong as you'd think, because what has happened in the housing market, although prices is up, the actual amount of new properties on market, so supply, hasn't really been there. It's only been at the levels we've seen since 2010, so maybe loan growth won't actually be that good. And that's why Wednesday with CBA, it's always the one to watch, because again, it gives you that very good snapshot of not just a company, but also the economy as a whole.
Evan Lucas, thank you.
Thanks, guys.